Hey everyone, ready to dive into something pretty cool.
I know I am.
We're talking about the Leaning Tower of Pisa today,
Oh, yeah.
using that great article you sent from Discover magazine.
Great article.
So the tower is famous for its tilt,
Of
but
course.
did you know that it wasn't planned that way?
Ah,
It
that's
was a major engineering mistake.
a big one.
Yeah, and today we're going to uncover the history
Yeah.
and talk about the construction problems that caused the lean,
Mm-hmm.
and also the fact that it survived all those earthquakes.
The earthquakes, yeah.
It's crazy.
It really is amazing when you think about it.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it,
Yeah.
that this accident created one of the most recognizable landmarks.
You're absolutely right. One of the most recognizable in the world.
So it makes you think,
Yeah.
if they'd planned the lean,
Mm-hmm.
would it be as famous? I don't know.
It's hard to say.
It's one of those things that you think about.
Definitely.
So when did this whole Leaning Tower thing actually start?
Yeah. Construction began way back in 1173.
Wow.
The tower was actually supposed to be a grand bell tower,
Okay.
part of a larger cathedral complex.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't even like a standalone
Is part of this whole complex, yeah.
to show off how wealthy Pisa was.
Exactly, show off their wealth and power.
But then right away, things went wrong.
Yeah,
Literally, they went sideways. Huh?
they did.
So tell me more about that.
Well, almost as soon as they started building, the foundation started settling unevenly.
Wait, so they knew,
Hmm.
like, right away that the ground was unstable?
The foundation was the big problem.
Mhm.
It's made up of clay and sand and shells,
Oh, wow.
all from the rivers nearby.
So it was like a recipe for disaster?
Pretty much not the best combination for stability.
You would think that somebody would have said, hey, maybe we shouldn't build here.
Yeah, you'd think.
So did they try to stop?
Well, they actually did have to stop
Okay.
because a war broke out right when the tower started to tilt. And construction had to stop for almost 100 years.
So that was lucky, wasn't it?
It was incredibly lucky.
Given they probably would have kept building.
If they kept building, it probably would have just collapsed right then.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So when they finally got back to work,
Yeah.
did they try to fix the lean at all?
They did when they started working on the 8th story.
Okay.
The builders tried to make up for the southward lean
Uh-huh.
by angling the new level northward.
Oh, I see. But that didn't work, did it?
It actually backfired pretty badly.
Like adding more weight to one side of a seesaw?
It just amplified the problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even with trying to fix it, the tower just kept leaning?
It just kept going for centuries.
Centuries. That's amazing.
It is, but then in the 20th century, things
Yeah.
got a little scary.
I remember hearing about that.
By 1990, the lean was so bad
Hmm.
that the tower was sinking at a rate of 0.05 inches every year.
I remember when they closed it,
Yeah,
because everybody thought it was going to fall.
they thought we'd lose it for good.
Yeah. It was big news.
It was.
So how did they actually save it?
A team of engineers came up with a really clever solution,
Okay.
and they removed small amounts of soil from under the north side.
So just tiny adjustments.
Exactly. Very slowly and very carefully.
So they basically just nudged it back to a better angle.
That's a good way to put it.
Wow. And did that actually work?
It was a huge success.
Wow,
By
yeah.
2001, they had reduced the lean
Mm-hmm.
and got the tower back to about a 4-degree incline,
Okay.
similar to what it was 200 years before.
I can't believe that worked.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
This tower, with all its problems and built on bad ground,
Mhm.
and they fixed it by just taking out some dirt.
Pretty much.
But what's even crazier is that this tower has survived all those earthquakes.
Right. I mean, we're talking major earthquakes.
Since when?
Well, dating all the way back to 1280.
Wow.
And you'd think that a structure like this,
Yeah.
as unstable as it is, would be really vulnerable.
You'd think it would just fall over.
But it's defied expectations.
It's like it has some kind of superpower.
Well, in a way, it kind of does.
Okay.
It's all because of that soft ground.
So what you're saying is that the
Yeah.
same ground that caused the problem
Right.
is actually what's protecting it.
It's called dynamic soil structure interaction.
So the ground absorbs the energy from the earthquake.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a fascinating quirk of physics.
So its greatest weakness is also its strength.
You could say that.
That's incredible.
And because of this, engineers think that it could last another 200 years.
Wow, that's really cool.
It really is.
It really makes you think about
Yeah,
how nature works in mysterious ways.
definitely.
This is a great place to pause, I think.
I agree.
We've already uncovered so much
We have.
about the Leaning Tower of Pisa,
Yeah,
but there's still more to explore.
lots more.
So join us for part 2 of this deep dive.
I'll be here.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Welcome back to our deep dive on the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
It's great to be back.
We were just talking about how this tower that shouldn't even be standing
Yeah,
has managed to survive all these earthquakes.
it really makes you wonder how.
Yeah, and it makes you think about all the work that's gone into keeping it upright.
It's been a long process.
So those stabilization efforts we talked about earlier,
Right.
they weren't a one-time fix, right?
No, they weren't.
They didn't just adjust the soil and say, okay, we're done,
It's a constant battle.
because the tower's always in motion, isn't it?
It is. It's constantly moving and settling.
So it's more like a patient with a chronic condition.
A good analogy.
It needs these regular checkups to
Exactly.
make sure that it's still stable.
And adjustments, too.
So are they constantly adjusting it?
It's an ongoing process.
So it's like a balancing act,
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep this thing from leaning too far.
Pretty much.
What are some of the other challenges?
Well, aside from the foundation issues,
Yeah.
you have to think about weathering
Oh,
and the huge number of tourists that visit every year.
yeah, that's got to be a factor.
All those people put a lot of stress on the structure.
Millions of people,
Millions.
all trying to get that perfect photo.
Yeah, holding it up with their hands.
It's got to be tough on the tower.
It definitely adds to the challenge.
So how do they monitor all of that?
That's where technology comes in.
Oh, really?
They have sensors all over the tower.
Wow, so they're basically listening to it
You could say that.
to see what's going on inside?
Exactly. These sensors give them real-time data. Everything. The lean, the tilt, any vibrations.
So it's like giving the tower a nervous system.
It's a great way to think about it.
So with all that information,
Mm-hmm.
they can predict any potential problems
Exactly. It's about being proactive.
rather than waiting until it's too late.
Right. You don't want to wait until it's on the verge of collapse.
That's for sure,
This way they can make small adjustments
as needed.
before things get out of hand.
That makes a lot of sense.
So it's always going to need some level of care.
Right.
But these advancements are helping us learn more about how to preserve it.
That's good.
It really is.
It's amazing to think that this mistake
Yeah.
has become this symbol of human ingenuity.
It speaks to our ability to adapt and find solutions.
We're always trying to overcome challenges, aren't we?
It's part of what makes us human.
And in this case,
Mm-hmm.
those imperfections are what make it so special.
Absolutely. It's unique because of its flaws.
Speaking of special,
Yeah.
this tower is more than just a building.
Oh, yeah.
It's a global icon.
It really is instantly recognizable all over the world.
It's a symbol of Italy itself.
Exactly. You see it on postcards and souvenirs.
I have a fridge magnet,
Ha, of course you do.
and people from all over the world visit it
Millions of them.
just to see it in person.
They want to experience that tilt firsthand.
It's a must-see destination.
It's part of our shared human experience.
That's a good way to put it.
It speaks to our curiosity and our fascination with the unusual.
And the fact that it looks like it's going to fall over,
It does make you wonder how it's still standing.
and that story continues to evolve
Absolutely.
with each passing year.
There's always something new to learn.
Speaking of learning,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about the scientific curiosity that the tower has sparked.
Now, that's a fascinating topic.
So join us for part 3,
I'll be here.
where we'll explore how this leaning tower has pushed the boundaries of engineering.
And architecture.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Glad to be here.
We've talked about its history,
Mm-hmm.
the efforts to stabilize it,
Right.
and how it survived all those earthquakes.
Against all odds.
But now I want to talk about the science.
Ah, yes.
What can we actually learn from this tower?
Well, it's more than just an icon.
Yeah,
It's a scientific marvel.
it really is.
It makes us rethink what we know about stability and structural integrity.
Because it looks like it should fall over.
That's exactly.
But it doesn't.
It's a constant source of fascination for engineers and scientists.
So how has the Leaning Tower contributed to actual scientific advancements?
Well, think about the challenges they faced trying to stabilize it.
Like what?
They had to figure out the soil mechanics, how the weight was distributed, and how to deal with even the smallest movement.
So it wasn't easy.
It was a huge undertaking.
And they had to come up with some pretty creative solutions,
They did. They had to develop new tools and techniques.
like those sensors we talked about.
Exactly.
It's amazing to think that they had to invent new ways of thinking
They were pushing the boundaries.
just to solve this one problem.
And the knowledge they gained from the Leaning Tower
Yeah.
has been used in countless other projects
Really? So they're using what they learned
all over the world,
to help with other buildings.
especially when dealing with difficult soil conditions.
Oh, so it's not just about towers.
No, it's about any structure that's built on unstable ground. And it's helped with the preservation of historical structures, too.
It's like the Leaning Tower became this testing ground
Yeah, a real-world laboratory.
for new engineering ideas.
And it's still inspiring new research today.
What about other fields like physics?
The tower's always been fascinating to physicists.
Because it looks like it's defying gravity.
It really does.
So how does it stay up?
Well, it all comes down to balance and the distribution of forces.
Okay.
And studying the Leaning Tower helps us understand those forces better.
I see.
It's a perfect example of how a structure interacts with its surroundings.
And how things like wind and earthquakes can affect buildings. It's a real-life physics problem.
Played out on a massive scale.
It's mind-blowing
It is.
that something that started as a mistake has taught us so much.
It highlights the unexpected benefits that can come from errors.
We can learn from our mistakes.
We can, and often those mistakes lead to the most interesting discoveries.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, what's the biggest takeaway from the Leaning Tower of Pisa
It's a reminder to be careful and plan ahead.
when you're building something?
But it also shows us the power of human ingenuity
We can adapt and solve problems,
and find beauty in unexpected places.
even in mistakes.
Exactly.
Well said.
Thank you.
And to our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was our pleasure.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa is more than just a leaning tower,
It's a testament to human resilience.
and our desire to understand the world around us.
So keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and never stop learning.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.
See you then.